Let's talk about these coaching hires. Let's start with the big Los Angeles Chargers hire, Jim Harbaugh. We talked about it earlier in the week. One of my takes on the Monday show was that I'm in.
Prescient.
I'm in on Jim Harbaugh going to the Los Angeles Chargers, and now Jim Harbaugh is actually going to the Los Angeles Chargers. So why am I in on it? One, Jim Harbaugh is a fun character to have more in my life. Not that I don't watch college football, but I mean, think about it. Like a Monday in week 6, Solak, next year, I can just be firing off Jim Harbaugh takes. Like that's good for content, team content. He's won everywhere he's gone, 44, 19-1 in 4 seasons with the 49ers, did not have a losing record. Even when it went bad was 8-8. Bad wasn't like 2-14, and that's very rare. Goes to Michigan, gets over the hump, beat Ohio State, win the national championship this year. Knows how to coach a winning football team. Players seem to like him and, embrace his quirkiness, should we call it? I like that. I like his eye for talent, that he's had some good coaches on that Michigan staff in terms of coaching talent. So that's been good. So I think if you're a Chargers fan, like, this is as good as you could have hoped for, right? You got Jim Harbaugh, you got Justin Herbert. On paper, it's nice. I'm not telling you that it's definitely going to work, because if you're a Chargers fan listening to this, you're going, how are they going to screw this up? How is this not going to work? But I think it's a fun combination. I think it gives you a chance for big time upside, and I'm in on it. Where do you stand?
Yeah. Director of social video on the podcast, Eduardo Ocampo, is a Chargers fan. We were chatting in the pre-show, and he did exactly what you said, where I was like, hey, how you feeling about Harbaugh? And he was like, I'm not getting too excited. All right, number one. And Cliff called him out. Cliff was like, it's Harbaugh and Herbert. You got to get excited. And he goes, okay, yeah, fine, I'm excited. But Ben, what do you think if they hire Greg Roman as OC? It's like, Eduardo, you gotta love it, baby. You gotta live. Come on now. You got Harbaugh. You gotta feel it. You gotta enjoy it. Yes, if Greg Roman is handed the keys to the offense, I will have some concerns. However, you made the good point. Harbaugh generally does a really good job filling out his staff. And while Greg Roman in 2024 is kind of the butt of the Lamar Jackson joke, Greg Roman in 2013 was like, I'm going to run the pistol. And the NFL was like, what? Like that. Like at the time, like this was a big deal, right? And so it's less about.
How about 2019? 5 years ago, I mean, they had Ravens had an amazing offense. Like you look at all the numbers.
But I'm referring to when Harbaugh brought Roman in, right? To the NFL, right? It was, they were doing Colin Kaepernick, Nevada pistol stuff, and they were doing option stuff, heavy personnel. And so to me, it's more so Harbaugh's got an eye for good schemers and good coaches, less Harbaugh takes Greg Roman everywhere he goes. And so I think overall, you feel good, like you said, about his ability to fill out a staff. I'm really interested to see the hires, though. That he has not been in the NFL for a long time, right? Michigan 2015 when he took that job. And so is he going to pull exclusively from Baltimore? That's what they've been making kind of their general manager interviews right now has been from his brother. Is it going to be Jesse Minter, the DC at Michigan, comes and joins me in the NFL? What's his current network? That does really interest me because I don't know what it is just yet. We haven't seen him take a new job in a long time, and he's making the college to the NFL jump. I wrote last year about how I don't think I would ever hire a coach college out of the NFL. Harbaugh is the exception that proves that rule because he tends to be good at kind of code switching the schemes and figure out who's got the mind for what. We'll see how he does with LA.
Yeah, I think actually more important than the staff. Like, I think he'll do a fine job with the staff. We'll see. I'm very interested in who the personnel person is coming in because, you're at Michigan. All right, you're literally picking all the players. You're recruiting players that you want to come in and they join your team. In San Francisco, that thing got real ugly with him and Trent Baalke, even when they were winning games, but certainly when they were losing games there at the end. So it's got to be someone. I don't want to say it's got to be someone he knows. That's why I floated the Ravens thing out last week. Like if it's someone who his brother is vouching for, that no, like this is a good person. You will work well with this person. Something like that would make sense. If it's someone who's got no background with and doesn't know, then it's like, well, we'll see. And I don't think we know the details of the contract. Like, does Jim Harbaugh have final say on the 53-man roster? Does he have, final say on personnel decisions? Is that totally out of his control? And that's going to all go to the GM. So we kind of have to get details on what the setup's going to be. But listen, there's always there's going to be potential for it to, blow up at some point. But, I like to look at everything in life in 2 to 3 years. You don't have to, when you're making big decisions, you don't have to commit to any. Look at it like a car lease. You know what I mean? You don't have to commit to it for a decade here. So I think for the next 2 to 3 years, if you're a Chargers fan, there is some hope. This is better than I think what the alternatives might have been. So there you go. We'll see how they do have work with that roster. That's why I'm pointing to the personnel stuff. It's not like come in and win a Super Bowl right away. I do think they could be competitive right away. Like they could make the playoffs next year, no doubt about it. But they're going to need some tweaks to that roster after the last several years.
The number one bar for my 2024 Chargers evaluation is are you Harbaugh and whomever you fill out for that personnel staff, do you understand what you need to put around Herbert? Because the previous staff could never get there, right? The previous staff was like, look at all these big bodies. And it was like, dude, the guy can throw it a football field. Like, you need to be able to create vertical space. You need to be able to stretch. You need to take advantage of what you got here. The other thing is that they did not handle protection the way they needed to, the old staff. And a guy with Herbert who like loves to stand in there, take a shot, and throw the ball. Like, you want to kind of protect him from his worst self and say, all right, if our guy's going to hang back there in the pocket and grip and rip it, like, we have to have a legit pass protection plan because otherwise he's going to hurt himself. And we've seen that with Herbert. He takes shot after shot and he's playing on bad ribs and whatever. Understand your guy and build around him. That's the number one thing. If they're 6-11, 11-6, or anywhere in between, I want to feel like they know what they've got in Justin and that they have an idea for what he's supposed to look like.
I want to feel good about Herbert improving, saying, all right, we saw so much potential first couple of years. And, you know, we don't need to get into a big Herbert conversation here. We'll have plenty of offseason to do that. But I want it to be like, ooh, they are getting the best version out of this guy. Or, ooh, he's doing things that we did not see him do the last 2 years, that kind of thing. So there you go. All right.